Good morning, everybody. Our first image here shows you where the large winter storm is this morning as the sun was rising here in the Midwest. What was interesting about this winter storm yesterday, if I kind of just take you back in time, is right as the sun was setting last night and we were watching the heavy snow come out of parts of Colorado into Nebraska and eventually into Iowa, while heavy rain spread out on the eastern side of this, and there were some strong to severe storms through parts of the lower Mississippi River Valley. I was focused on the extent of this dry slot right in through here. We're going to get another drought monitor released today, and we're going to continue to see excessive drought down here in the southern plains. And what you're looking at, that haze you see there, was actually a dust storm. What will be important about that drought monitor is that it will not include, because it's made on Tuesday and released on Thursday, it won't include the precipitation from this winter storm, nor the heavy rains out east of it. Just to take a look at how much precip we did get over the last 72 hours. As this system came into the west and delivered some good snow here into parts of the Four Corner states, including some heavier rains into Arizona, this is the corridor over which it's put down most of its heavy snow. And as you can see in some places here, there is almost 2 inches of liquid in that snow. This is very important for the drought scenario here in the western Corn Belt. You then see that throughout the eastern Corn Belt down into the mid-south and the lower Mississippi River Valley, some places, again, picking up between 1 and almost 3 inches of rainfall. And some of this came in some pretty heavy storms here. But we're going to have to wait a little bit longer today to see how much snow fell, kind of on a macro scale here, because the National Weather Service's maps haven't yet updated this morning, so we don't yet know, at least seen on this bigger view, how much snow kind of fell in this area. We'll take a look later on today and put it in the in-depth report tonight. So from here, I want to show you where this system's going. We still have winter storm warnings for parts of Iowa, getting into Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the UP of Michigan. There's better chances of snow starting to show up in parts of New England. Very windy, though, from parts of the Mid-South over toward the Appalachian Mountains. And you can see the new winter storm watch has been issued right into parts of Colorado and Kansas, New Mexico, and one county here in Oklahoma. There's another system coming through the west that we're going to watch carefully to emerge on Saturday. I'll get to that in a second. Before I get there, though, there is the risk in the state of Ohio today for strong to severe storms. And this is going to tuck itself right up next to the upper level low as it spins over this area. So we have a relatively strongly sheared environment and the potential to destabilize later this afternoon and this evening. I want to show you that here. So we're going to start this up at 9 o'clock this morning here at the high-res NAM. So our snow's still falling on the back side of this. Here's the front that swept through the Pacific Northwest. We're continuing to see the snow moving through parts of Idaho and Nevada down toward the central Sierra Nevada mountains. But if we play this through the rest of the day, I'm kind of keeping my eye over here. This is through midday today and then into this evening. You notice that the high-res NAM is attempting to kick off a series of storms right here. This is like 5 to 6 o'clock tonight, according to the model. Could be a little different timing later today. But this is the potential for where we could see some strong storms. A cold rain spreads into New England, and the front really fails to deliver much precipitation from parts of the mid-Atlantic through the Carolinas. But still quite a bit of heavy snow on the backside of this, including a changeover of parts of Illinois. And then you're going to see the snow spread through southern Ontario, southern Quebec, and then into tomorrow morning, a flip over to some snow here into the interior of New England. Now, this is not going to be the kind of snow that corrects the major snow drought, especially the one that's like right here in the I-95 corridor. We're going to talk more about that in a second. But you see on the backside, we could possibly see some snow showers in this whole region of the eastern Corn Belt and eastern Great Lakes. Now, from there, my attention is going to come back to this, coming through the Four Corner states, now digging into southeastern Colorado. The latest model forecast is suggesting better chances of snow there, and that snow spreading early Saturday morning into Kansas. And this is some of the first time we've seen the models dip a trough far enough south to put moisture here. I keep talking about how big these dry slots are, not on this guy. And the reason for that is this. By the end of this week, the jet stream comes across the Pacific and splits around one ridge here, while the subtropical branch of the jet runs from just kind of south and east of Hawaii, straight across the Baja into Mexico, and then straight to New England. And this new pattern is going to send troughs deeper to the south, which means they're going to be able to draw more moisture back, and then they're going to follow the jet stream flow into parts of New England. So what's important about that is how that really manifests itself in the next 7 days of precipitation anomalies. So could we start to work on the snow drought in New England? Yes. Does this try to deliver better precip to the mid-Atlantic, the Gulf Coast, the mid-South, eastern Corn Belt? It does. And what I feel like I'm most excited about, though, is the chance that these next two systems could bring moisture and in one of the driest places in the United States right now. The split flow in the west, though, continues to keep the precipitation totals below normal there. And the models unfortunately did back off on the chances for decent snows coming into parts of Montana, something we talked about earlier this week. So I've got this European model run queued up here on Saturday morning, and I'm going to keep my focus right here initially, because that low emerges and the upper level low tracks from Colorado to Illinois. Now, we're seeing the model put down some snow right in through here, and we'll take a look at the actual amounts in a moment. But this is kind of a two-piece system. We have the short wave doing this. We have the short wave doing that. And then we've got the subtropical jet picking it all up and kind of running it like this. So that's what's spurring on the storms that'll be down here along the Gulf Coast. Okay, this is now getting into Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, and evening. So we could see some snow spreading into this area, and then there could be enough cold air for a changeover to snow into parts of Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and then Maine, while decent rains and possibly some storms are going to be coming through parts of the Mid-Atlantic down through the Carolinas all the way to Florida and Georgia. Now you see the model attempting to put down that snow, but you notice that the coldest air will likely stay to the west of the I-95 corridor. But this could start to fill in one area that's really missed out on a lot of snow this year. Now behind that, we have another low. Look at where this one is digging, clear down into parts of Arizona. It then ejects into New Mexico, and that farther south trajectory draws in more moisture farther back to the west. This is next Tuesday morning, and this could really increase the chances of putting down some snow or just moisture into an area that's been very dry. I am concerned next Tuesday night about the risk of some stronger storms to the south, plus some ice with the overrunning. You see the pinks right there. But this low then moves toward the mid-south. We do not have an accurate read on how much snow is going to be here just yet. So we need to be patient, watch the weekend model trends to get an idea about that. But then this low does the same thing. It follows a subtropical jet next Wednesday into Thursday and heads into parts of New England. So these next two systems are critical, and while these take shape, the temperature pattern is going to really be changing across much of the country. So let's talk about snowfall first. I'm just going to show you the operational run. This gets us through Friday. All right. The next system emerges here on Saturday, really Friday night and Saturday morning, and it could spread some snow through parts of Kansas into Missouri, southern Iowa. That system then really starts to add more snow into parts of the interior of New England. Some places here, maybe we're looking at a possibility of over a foot of snow just from these next two systems. Then the third one shows up on Tuesday into Wednesday, and the model wants to bring the latest snowfall track out of Texas through Oklahoma and possibly to Arkansas and along the Ohio River Valley. There's a lot of uncertainty with this, so let's not let this kind of rent too much space in our brain as to how much we could get here. But I'm just showing you the potential for it, and it's inside of a week in the forecast. So let's look at a kind of a bit more of a macro scale map on snow. This is just the chance of getting at least 6 inches in the next 10 days. So now we see that the models are still quite uncertain on how much snow is going to come out of the next system that stays pretty far to the south. But on the liquid equivalent side of this, the chances of picking up an inch of liquid equivalent are really going to follow where that subtropical jet stream runs. So from eastern Texas all throughout the eastern United States, quite wet go of it here moving forward. The west and the split flow, that's where we tend to rob the moisture from. On the temperature side of this, we're still very hot today compared to normal. And this is going to destabilize the atmosphere and kind of set up that severe weather event potentially in Ohio. Very warm in North Carolina too. But the warmth spreads east on Friday. And as we get into Saturday, watch the temperatures change for next week. There's Sunday into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And we start to see more cooler air compared to normal settling in into the western United States and throughout the Intermountain West. The models did back off. Watch this. They did back off on the true extent of the coldest air to the east as we finish January and start February. Remember, earlier this week we talked about how quickly the cooler air was going to arrive late in the month and get farther to the east. The newest model trends, especially in the European, are much more mild. So the influence of that subtropical ridge is really showing up here, while the Canadian prairie, the plains, parts of the Midwest go back into very much winter-like conditions. But I don't think we're out of the woods just yet for the risk of an Arctic shot for the east. And again, polar vortex is very much stretched today. And if it continues to do this and possibly split, it's just a sign that we need to be watching February for a connection between the polar vortex and the tropospheric polar vortex and what that might mean for a cold shot. Lastly, and maybe most important today, just to talk about ag markets, is what the latest European model came out with on the probability over the next 10 days of getting 2 inches of rain. Okay, 2 inches of rain, so we're talking well over 50 millimeters. And what we've got here is the model was more aggressive on returning moisture to some of the driest places in Argentina. It's wetter than normal in parts of central Brazil, near normal farther to the north. And even though you've seen drier conditions showing up with the models here, it's just to point out that this is likely going to push harvest along in Mato Grosso. And at this point, I can't be overly concerned about this being a permanent feature of drier conditions in the north as we go farther into the time period here of the safrinha crop. I'll keep you posted on that, though. Okay, have a good one. We'll talk again tonight with the in-depth report. Thanks.